All right. Welcome back to the world-famous Tipitinas. Thank you so much to Tipitinas for letting us use the space. Thank you to Nugs.net for letting us use the equipment, and I hope you're enjoying this on Tipitinas.tv. Before we get to the interview, I want to go ahead and get to a fan letter. That's right, we have fan mail on this program. A fan letter. I've gotten at least 2 or 3 before.
Wow.
But as promised, if you write an actual letter to Tipitina, to the All Right broadcast, care of Tipitinas, 501 Napoleon Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70115. Nick should be putting it on the screen right now. If you write me an actual letter, I will write you an actual letter back, and I will send you a Tipitinas sticker. And this one comes from BJ and Dave Gamandi. Happy Tuesday from Charlottesville, Virginia. Just want to drop you a note to let you know how much my husband Dave and I have and continue to enjoy all of the All Right broadcasts on Tipitinas TV. Thank you so much Thank you so much for all you do to continue to share the music, voices, and backstories of so many great New Orleans musicians. It is really fabulous to hear all the history and connections that have brought New Orleans people and music to where they are today. We love the city, people, music, and food, and missed our yearly visit in 2020 to visit all of our wonderful friends we have made there over the years. Really looking forward to live music again and hold our last live music experience close to the heart to sustain us until this passes. Front row for Galactic with Jelly here in Charlottesville in February 2019. Awesome show. I'm sure that was an awesome show. Thank you so much, BJ and Dave Gamandi. I already sent your sticker in the mail, so you should have arrived it by the time that this interview goes up on the air. And again, remember, if you write us an actual letter, I will send you an actual letter back with a sticker. My goal is one day to dump out that Miracle on 34th Street
Wait,
style.
do me a favor. Give me the address, because I'm going to write you a letter, because I want one of those stickers.
501 Napoleon Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70115. That's the All Right broadcast, care of Tipitinas. Well, you already heard from him, so let's go ahead and introduce him. My guest today is someone that many of us have been inviting into our homes on a near daily basis. In my opinion, the most trusted name in local news. He's a champion of the city of New Orleans and has been an integral part of the community for over 4 decades. You know him as the morning news anchor on WWL and WUPL. He's the king of morning television in New Orleans. Please help me welcome Eric Paulsen.
We're going to put an applause there? That's good. I like that.
That's the applause.
That's good.
That's the applause.
You can't, dub it in?
Come on, man. We don't have a budget
show,
for
isn't
this.
it?
We don't have a budget for this. We're stealing the liquor from behind the bar, so,
Is that wrong?
It's not wrong. So I've gotten approval from the guys in Galactic to say, yeah, sure, it's okay.
They're good dudes.
They're phenomenal. They're very forgiving, and they've all been on here and enjoyed the booze too. So it's
their booze?
One small part. Yeah, it's one small part. Delicious. Okay, Eric.
I can see what kind of a show this is going to be.
Yeah, no, we're going to have some fun.
When you named it All Right, was that like after Matthew McConaughey?
Not in the least bit.
Okay.
He actually has 3 all rights. That's all right.
Oh.
We do not want to get sued.
Has he been a guest on the show yet?
No, he has not. He has not answered any of my letters or emails.
So he hasn't sent you a Matthew McConaughey sticker?
Day. This has nothing to do with Matthew McConaughey. Small side story then. All right. I'm sure you remember this, but you remember Joe Cool. He used to work here for years and years and years.
He used to let me in free all the time.
Exactly. And Ricky Castrillo, who worked here as well. When they used to introduce the bands, first words out of their mouth were always, all right.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Exactly. So we just started going with it. The first couple times we recorded one of these, we didn't know what we were going to call it. So we were just joking and saying, it's the All Right broadcast. And we spell it phonetically, but incorrectly spelled ALRIGHT instead of 2 words, all right. That was a very long explanation.
I've got to tell you, out of all the hosts that introduce people, and I've seen a lot of them over the years.
I'm sure you have, yeah.
You've got the best voice of all of them.
Do you think so?
Yeah, you have a good radio voice.
Thank you. That's crazy for you to say.
No, but you do.
No one cares about me. I'm not that guy. But I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
No. I'm not sucking up to you. It's true.
I did radio.
Well, then you got the radio voice.
You know my mentor, Sig.
That's true.
Another future and past guest of this program. We recorded one of these with him, but we can't air it. It's just not going to happen. The quality was poor. It was one of the first ones we did.
Okay.
But he's coming back. He's actually probably next week. Sorry.
Sig is really good.
We're going to cut all this out probably, so don't worry about that.
That's too bad.
Let's talk about you since you're the guest, actually, Eric. Like I said, and for a lot of these, I'm sure you can tell I do a decent amount of homework on the guest, but I've known you for a few years. So it was actually kind of fun diving in and trying to see what I can find about old footage of you. And congratulations on never succumbing to any stupid hairstyles or clothing styles.
It's been the same
in all the years. Just because so many people, when you look back in the late 70s, wearing some of the crazy lapels and ties that people wore on the news.
Yeah.
Good job at always having a classic, timeless look.
Yeah, I don't think anything's changed in the 40 years I've been here. It's hard to believe that it's been that long, but it's been good.
I only saw one thing that I saw you do that I thought was too comically hilarious to be real, and it was real. When you were doing the, it was part of PM Magazine, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll talk about PM Magazine, but I believe it was the Urban Cowboy Contest in Mississippi, where you donned Western wear.
Yeah.
Walking on the beach with a 6-shooter.
Yeah.
That was the only embarrassing piece of footage on you I could find.
Not one of my finest moments in journalism.
Well, it was 1981.
Yeah,
seemingly.
around there, yeah.
So
the same year I interviewed Tennessee Williams. So
well, you brought that up a little bit earlier, and we're going to get to that. So
Okay.
let's start at the beginning, though. You were born in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yes.
Land of 10,000 lakes.
No, that's Minnesota.
You sure? All right,
Positive.
Sunshine State, right?
No, show me.
All right, I'll show you. Lone Star State.
Nope, show me state.
Okay, it is the Show Me State. Just
It was,
checking.
yeah.
Windy City.
Nope, Chicago.
Okay. Gateway to the East.
Gateway to the West.
Okay, just checking.
Was this like Jeopardy?
Sort of, a little bit.
I should have given you other questions.
Well, I got more then.
Okay.
What's the state bird of Missouri?
Oh, I don't know.
No guesses?
Do you know? No.
Oh, I know what it is.
Vulture?
Nope. Close, though. It's not close at all, but it is funny.
Eagle?
Eastern bluebird.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
I would assume the Cardinals, since the St. Louis Cardinals.
You would think, but it's not a smart state. Why is it called the Show Me State? Because people are too stupid to figure out for themselves. You have to literally show them, right?
Well, pretty much. We've had some stupid folks like Missouri. But it was good. It was a great place to grow up. I grew up in suburban St. Louis. I was at a high school, University City High School.
University City High School. That's right.
Where Tennessee Williams went, Jeremy Davenport,
That's right.
and Nellie.
And Nellie. That's
Yeah.
right. You guys are like peas in a pod.
Well, Jeremy played at my wedding, so
Oh, that's cool. And still plays all
plays,
the
yeah.
time in town. He's just
Yeah.
right down the street. That's phenomenal.
Well, it was funny, but when he was first playing here in New Orleans, up at the Ritz, I had a friend at the Ritz who I was sitting with at the bar in the the Orleans room or New Orleans room, or what did he have?
At the Ritz, I don't hang there. I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyway,
The Davenport Lounge, that's where he hangs
well,
out.
that is now. It changed after the storm. But before the storm, he was up there and he started singing some stuff, and then he goes, "Anybody here from St. Louis?" So I raised my hand, and he goes, "No." And then he goes, "Anybody went to U City High?" And I raised my hand. And he goes, "Oh, come on, Amy put you up to this." And I said, "No, I actually went there." And then we bonded and became friends.
Well, there's someone else that went to University City High that you didn't mention that is more in your line of work. You know who I'm talking about?
No.
Dave Garraway, first host of the
Oh,
Today Show.
really? He went to U City High?
Graduate of University City High School.
I did not know that. You know more about my high school than I do.
I told you, I do some homework for these.
It's impressive.
That's a big deal. Did you have any fun jobs as a teenager or anything like that? I mean, or did you, at 12 years old, put on the jacket and tie and just decide to start delivering news?
No. I was always a kid who loved animals. Mm-hmm. And I knew I was going to be a veterinarian one day.
Okay.
And I got accepted into vet school at University of Iowa in Ames. But at that time, they only had 7 vet schools around the
I think
country.
there's still only maybe 11 in the United States.
It's just so short. And then even though I was on the dean's list, you still had to get in a lottery where you pick out a name. So you were guaranteed the first year, but not the second year, because you could lose it on the lottery.
Yeah.
And so I said, nah. And then this just was a lot easier.
All right. Well,
But anyway, as a kid, I had a lawn mowing service, stuff like that. Then during college, I worked at my dad's gas station for a while.
Okay.
And then odd jobs when I got to Southern Illinois University.
All right. Did you, what about your family? Siblings? Anything like that?
I have an older sister who is with the Winnipeg Symphony.
Really? What does she
Winnipeg
play?
Philharmonic. She's violin.
Excellent.
Her husband is a violist. Her daughter is a violinist. And her son is a cellist.
Wow.
Yeah, they're really talented.
Love the strings.
I played cello in high school, but I was always following in my sister's footsteps. She was 4 years older than me. And it was always, oh, you're Karen's brother. So they expected me to be good.
Well,
and
that's cute that your sister's a Karen also. It's very,
she is a Karen.
Very, very taboo name these days.
But I could not live up to her standards.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just great.
That's cool.
So I gave up the cello and then, but still had a love for music.
All right. What? So you said Southern Illinois University. What was it?
No. Yeah, that's a typical Southern Illinois. There's an S, but the S is silent.
Got it.
Southern Illinois.
I hope they don't ban me from Southern Illinois.
And a lot of people from Illinois will go Illinois, like
Illinois?
Yeah.
That's good for them. Land of Lincoln or whatever, right? I think I got that one right. What was I going to say?
You knew more about St. Louis than I did, so.
Well, we can keep going on Missouri and stuff too. I got more stuff. What's
Really?
the state tree?
Oh my God.
You don't know this stuff? I know the stuff about the state that I'm from.
I know the Mississippi state tree is the magnolia.
That's cool. Do you live in Mississippi?
No.
Have you ever?
No.
All right. What about the motto? Missouri's motto.
Show me state.
It's on the flag.
Oh my God. I know the St. Louis flag is beautiful, but
It
I
is
don't know
kind of
the
stupid,
Missouri.
actually. There's way too much stuff
What is
going
it?
on there. It's got the two bears and the seal.
Oh,
and-
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing that no one could ever draw in a hurry
Yeah,
or anything
yeah.
like that. Much like a pelican, but also, yeah. The motto. You don't know it? It's Latin.
You plural.
Salus populi suprema lex esto.
Okay.
That means let the good of the people be the supreme
You
law.
did way too much work for this interview.
Did I? I don't know.
Apparently so.
Do you not do this much work for all of your interviews every day of the week?
Well, I'm so versed in everything that I don't have to.
Oh, that is
except for
true.
Missouri.
That is true, except for Missouri Trivial Pursuit stuff. Well, here's another one then. Which of these people are not from St. Louis? So
Okay.
you can do this. I was going to save this for later, but I think it's funny now. Scott Bakula, Ed Asner, Harry Carey, Red Fox, and Vincent Price. Which one is not from St. Louis?
Give me the names
That's
again.
Scott Bakula.
Okay. I know
what
he
did I
is.
say? Ed Asner, Harry Carey, Red Fox, and Vincent Price.
Vincent Price.
Incorrect. It's actually Ed Asner from Kansas City.
Really? Okay.
The rest of them
Okay.
are from St. Louis.
Yeah.
So yeah, you should do this with every one of your morning
Well,
shows.
and
by the
John,
way. There's a lot more.
John Goodman is
Yeah,
from St. Louis.
Many people are. Well, that one was too obvious. I tried to pick
I know,
like
I
celebrities that you wouldn't necessarily know offhand where they're from.
But the first time I met John, when he first came to New Orleans, we were talking about being from St. Louis and the suburbs and stuff like that. And his high school played my high school. It was kind of cool.
Nice. You guys probably close to the same age at the very least.
Yeah,
you
around the
never
same
would
age,
have met
yeah.
each other, I guess. That'd be way too random.
No. It's funny because like when I went to SIU, most of the kids there were from Chicago, and I always thought St. Louis was a big town.
Yeah.
Well, when I got to SIU in Carbondale, Illinois, the kids from Chicago would always act like I'm from a hick town from St. Louis.
From St. Louis. There's
'cause
professional sports teams and everything, and it's a hick town.
Yeah, and we beat the Cubs all the time.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like from St. Louis, people from the north think you're a southerner. People from the south think you're a northerner. East and west, they think you're a farmer.
Huh.
It's just very bizarre.
Well, Missouri is a very strange place. I don't know anything about Illinois or necessarily Missouri, but I know some people that are from like the sticks of Missouri, and it shows. That's about all I can say. Like,
There is a
very Ozarkian
countryside to
or
Missouri.
whatever.
Yeah.
So you mentioned going to SIU, and you graduated with a journalism degree. Did you pick up any jobs while in school? Were you able to start working immediately?
I worked at the campus radio station and the TV station. They selected out of the 400 students in my television class. People who tried out. It was me and another guy. We did the news. I did 3 days a week. He did 2 as the anchor, and it was broadcast. We were one of the broadcast stations that people actually watched. It was the Paducah, Carbondale. I can't remember some other town.
Obviously, massive
market.
metropolis. Yeah.
It was a small market, but we were actually a news force, all student run. It was a really good station.
Okay. So that was the first time on TV, then I assume.
Yeah, that was my first time on TV, and I wasn't. I went to school to be a sound engineer because
Really?
when I decided that maybe vet school was going to be too rough, I decided I wanted to be a sound engineer because I used to take. I've always loved music, as you know.
Yes.
And so a friend and I would record records on. I had a big reel-to-reel recorder, and I'd tape all my stuff on reel-to-reel.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'd like to be a sound engineer. So when I got to SIU, I was a journalism major and a theater minor. And I worked the audio for a number of productions at the college theater. And so I thought, well, that's what I want to do. I never thought about getting on the air. And then one day my roommate came in, and he said, they're holding auditions for the radio station. You ought to try out. And I did. I got the job. And then they said they were holding auditions for the TV. And I tried out, and I got it. And that's what I did.
Wow. So you wanted to be a sound engineer. Let's go ahead and throw it over to the actual sound engineer here, Ace. Ace.
Yes.
Smart decision for him to ditch the sound engineer career?
Very good decision.
Okay, just checking. I mean, that could be you.
Well,
we're not even paying him.
They actually have to work.
Yeah, Eric, you could be working for beer like I am.
We give him 3 domestic beers and a Diet Coke. I think
I'm
we're
getting
at a
interviewed
Diet
for
Coke.
vodka, so.
Yeah, you're doing this for vodka. Oh, they're not sponsoring. Let's turn that sideways.
Sorry. Well, I have a deal with them, so.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, don't worry. There's no monetary compensation here for you. So what was your first job out of college then?
It was during college. I got a job at a radio station in Anna, Illinois.
Okay.
Tiny little station.
What kind of station?
It played, I would say soft rock, maybe.
I was going to say, I figured you say Anna, Illinois, I'm like, hotbed of funk.
And,
I can tell.
if I played, sometimes I was spinning records then. So if I take a record that was okayed by the general manager, he was a very conservative guy, and I don't remember what kind of a song. But if I'd flip it over to the B side, which was really a rock and roll song,
yeah,
he would come in and just chew me out.
You had to like change mid song or anything like that, or
well, I put on a Donny Osmond song one time because somebody requested it. I let it get like I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 seconds in, and then I took the needle and went. That's all I can stand.
The record's broken. Sorry, audience. Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, I went to a radio station in Iowa where I was Jack Daniels.
You went by the name Jack Daniels.
I wanted to be Harvey Wallbanger, but they thought that was too far.
Oh, come on.
So then...
you're taking a trademark name right there, though.
Yeah, so I went from Jack Daniels to... Because there was a guy on the station named Johnny Walker. I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I'll think of something else. So then it became Jack S. Daniels. So it morphed into Jackass Daniels. So it was good.
What kind of station was that?
It was a rock and roll station.
Yeah,
I was the morning guy.
Was it Morning Zoo style, wacky morning show type of stuff?
They gave me free reign, so that was good. I think I lasted there for 6 months, and then I was just tired of that. I wanted to get in TV, and so at the time I had long hair.
All right.
So I had sent out a couple of resumes to some stations, and a station in Savannah, Georgia, had given me a call and wanted to see a video of me. So I had a friend who was working at the TV station in Waterloo, Iowa, and I asked him if he'd do a video of me reading the news. So I tied my hair back in a ponytail and just looked straight at the camera and did the news. Well, I got the job.
Yeah.
And so I was heading down to Georgia, and I thought, well, they're pretty conservative down there. So I got to Atlanta and visited some friends, got a really short haircut, and I went into the general manager's office to introduce myself when I got to Savannah. And I said, well, his name was Harbin Daniel. In fact, Tom Snyder worked at that station for a while, the guy that did Tomorrow, yeah. He did the show that they were hiring me for. So I walked in and I said, look, Mr. Daniel, I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to cut my hair. And it was short.
Yeah.
I said, I haven't had a chance to cut my hair. And he kind of talked like Walter Brennan. He goes, I like you. So it was just one of those things. And I did the 11 o'clock news there. and they had never been number one. And when I started doing the news, we got to be number one.
Well, that is
And he was
phenomenal.
paying me peanuts. At that time, we were using manual typewriters, and I had a typewriter at my desk, and when I hit the E key, it would skip a couple of spaces. So I called him up and I said, "Look, Mr. Daniel, this typewriter's not working." And he goes, "What's wrong with it?" What's wrong with it? And I said, "Well, every time I hit the E, it skips a letter, a couple of letters." And he goes, "Well, if it's broken, you call me." I was on the second floor. I walked over to the window. I dropped it out the window, and I said, "It's broken now. I need a new one." And they got me a new one.
That is phenomenal. I don't know how to put that exactly, but I have been guilty of doing that here myself. Not with the new owners, luckily.
No.
When something is broken, they will actually fix it. But before, with the previous owner, there was a couple of things that was on its last legs for a number of years until it was actually, why don't we try fixing it with a hammer?
Well, when Galactic took this place over, all of a sudden it was music people that knew music, and what you guys have done with it, what they've done with it is just great.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and we're finally getting to the days where we're starting to look like a normal.
And you know, I have a
venue.
long history with Tipitinas, too.
Absolutely. We're going to get into the long history with Tipitinas as well. Tell me about how you got to New Orleans.
A friend of mine, I was working at a TV station, and a friend of mine was working in Atlanta.
Wait, I'm sorry. Was there another place after Savannah that you went before here?
I went to Wisconsin. I lasted there for it was the coldest winter they'd had in 100 years, and I am not a winter person. So I'd called a friend of mine in Atlanta. He said there were a couple of stations that were looking for people. I'd had a talent scout. His talent scout for NBC. His daughter went to the University of Wisconsin. She had seen me. She sent my name to her father. Her father asked me if I was interested in moving, and I said yes. So I sent him a tape, and he sent my tape out to a couple of places, and I was being considered for a couple of the jobs. And then I had found out about this job in Dallas and a job in New Orleans. Well, I had just bought a small sailboat. And so New Orleans had water. Dallas did not. So I sent the resume to Dallas. Phil Johnson, the legendary Phil Johnson, called me up and he said, "I need a tape." And I said, "Well, the only tape I have is with this NBC talent scout." So I called them up and I said, "Could you please send the tape to WWL-TV?" Because WWL-TV at the time had such a great reputation.
Yeah, it is a very historic
Oh, it was a
station.
powerhouse at the time.
Yeah.
And so he sent the tape down. Phil Johnson called me the next day, and he said, "I want you," and I came down. In fact, the week I was hired, it was Dennis Waltering, Sally Ann Roberts, and me. We all got hired the same week.
Yeah. That's 1977, if I'm not mistaken.
1977, yeah.
That is, it's very, I don't know, is it fortuitous that you all say, and you're the only one that's still working? Everyone else is retired.
Yeah,
Everyone else
is
is
still retired.
hung up the microphone or
And
the,
you know, and
the tie, whatever.
the funny thing is, just to how things go round in a circle. At the time, Glenn Campbell's song "Southern Nights" had just come out, and I was heading down south from frigid Wisconsin, and I just loved the song. I had no idea it was an Alan Toussaint song. Long story short, after years, I get to be friends with Alan Toussaint, and I told him the story, and I said, "Alan, that was always my favorite song," and he goes, "Well, it was my biggest seller." So
Yeah, keep spinning it. He gets paid every time, right? It's like I said, or like you said, starting the same week as Sally Ann and Dennis, I think is great. I haven't really got to know them nearly as well as I've gotten to know you. I've met Sally Ann maybe twice, and Dennis a few times as well. And I think here's the funny thing about Dennis Waltering. I'm gonna publicly out him right here. He loves Tipitinas.
Dennis is a wild man.
I know he loves Tipitinas.
You know, there's the Dennis on the air, and then there's the Dennis
Yes, there is two Dennis Walterings. Sorry, we're not friends or anything, so I don't.
Well,
I don't know
we
if
are.
he's
So
gonna- okay, well then you can ask him if he's upset about this. Then I guess I know for a fact that he parties pretty hard sometimes.
Dennis does.
A lot of people here at Tipitina's have probably hung out with him and done shots and danced with him.
And he may or
because
may
he
not
was
remember.
Always very smart about putting a mask on and just hanging out at a Radiator show, and no one is the wiser that that's
Yeah.
the man delivering the news.
Yeah, no.
I remember the first time I saw him hanging out here one time. I was like, oh man, that's Dennis Walter. He's like, he's here all the time. You know?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't mean to tell any too specific stories or anything like that, but I think that's quite hilarious that he is very much the underground party guy. But you, on the other hand, are very, you don't get out of hand or anything like that. But I've seen you hang out for tons of shows, have some drinks, clink with strangers, and whatever else.
Well, and so many
You
musicians.
don't get out of control, and neither did he. But
Yeah.
I don't mean to say that he was carried out of here or anything like that.
But I was so lucky. I got to be friends with so many musicians that, so many friends played on this stage, and when you weren't introducing them, they'd ask me to come introduce them and stuff like that. So, no, it's been great. I've had such a wonderful ride here in New Orleans. When I came here, I was on because I was young. I was 25 years old, maybe. But my plan was to go to network. I was gonna keep on hopping at places, but things changed. Opportunities opened up here, and I fell in love with the city, and it's just been a great ride.
Yeah. Well, it's. I don't know exactly if I had anything to add to that. I just think it's so hilarious that you probably have had multiple opportunities to leave New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
And plenty of job offers, I'm sure, have been thrown at you to like, oh, hey, why don't you move here? You can come to L.A., you can come to New York, Chicago, Atlanta, whatever. I'm sure there's much bigger markets that had a much bigger payday at the very end of the rainbow.
Well, and that's true. When I was doing that show PM Magazine you referred to, which was a nationally syndicated show, you got a lot of exposure. People knew who you were.
Yeah.
And I got a call from a station in Dallas, and they wanted to hire me to co-host with Lisa Gibbons for the PM Magazine in Dallas. And I was in the middle of a contract here, and Mike Early was the general manager, and he was like a father to me. And I'd given him my word, and I said, I don't break my word. They said, well, we'll double your salary, and we'll send our lawyers down to come bring you over. And I said, I just can't do it. I can't break my word to him.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't. If I had left, I might have never met my wife, and
We're all
got
glad
to be
you
friends
didn't
with
go,
Fats
man.
Domino and all
Yeah.
that other stuff.
I assure you, we are all glad that you didn't go. Was there ever a dream? I know you said you wanted, when you got into it, like the dream was going to network, national news, everything else. Was there a dream market, city, anything that you had in mind? Was it just New York, L.A.?
No, and when I got PM Magazine, excuse me, I was doing the morning news here in New Orleans, and I had gotten wind that they were gonna pick up one of the franchises for the PM Magazine. PM Magazine was a show when the FCC gave over the 6:30 half hour to local markets. They wanted to have more local programming.
Yeah.
And so KPIX in San Francisco was the head, and they had Evening Magazine. And so they started a show called Evening Magazine at the 7 owned and operated markets of Westinghouse Broadcasting. And then they started franchising the thing, and by the time it got to be big, it was 212 markets.
It was every... Yeah,
It was huge.
Yeah.
So then Mike Early had called me up, and he said he wanted me to do PM Magazine, and I had a job offer in my hometown of St. Louis. And he said, Eric, you could go there and fall on your butt. And I said, well, yeah, but I could go there back to my hometown. It's a much bigger market. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, this will be the best job you ever had. And I said, okay, I trust you. And best job I ever had.
Wow.
Got to see the world, traveled the world. If I was interested in something, we just did a story on it. And that's when I got to meet Tennessee Williams.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you segued right into that, the Tennessee Williams thing. I was going to say, what do you and Dick Cavett have in common?
I'll tell you what, Tennessee Williams' biographer said the 2 most important interviews Tennessee ever did was with me and Dick Cavett.
That is, puts you in good company, Eric.
It really does. And it was kind of amazing because I was young enough to where I wasn't that intimidated by Tennessee.
Okay.
I think if I had been a little older, a little more mature, I probably would have been scared to death.
Yeah.
Because it's Tennessee Williams, the greatest living playwright in America at the time. And he told me things. he did like me. But he told me things that he hadn't told other people. And it was just a very, very good interview. Mm-hmm. And he had said something that he had never said in his memoir, that he discovered his homosexuality, or as he called it, his duality of gender, on New Year's Eve in 1939 here in New Orleans in the French Quarter. Wow. And I asked him how important that was to his work, and he said, being able to identify with both genders was very helpful for a writer. Mm-hmm. And he was great. And I interviewed him a couple of times, but at that time I didn't think about asking him for an autograph or taking a picture with him, or anything like that.
You don't need to. You have some of the most important time on video with him.
Well, it is pretty cool.
I'll tell you what. I know there are millions of people out there that would kill themselves to have a video of them wandering through the streets of New Orleans on the sidewalks, meandering and hitting with Tennessee Williams through the French Quarter. Yeah. Very few people have had that experience, and you have a video of that.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And I donated my interview to the University of Texas, and which is the official archives.
Yeah, they have the...
and the Historic New Orleans collection. And then A&E has run some stuff, PBS has run stuff, so it's been good.
What were there any other takeaways from your time with Tennessee Williams?
We were sitting at Le Petit Theater, and he had a couple of young guys with him. Mm-hmm. And we were sitting at a table like this, and he reaches across and he grabbed my hand, and he goes, "Eric, are you gay?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And he goes, "What a pity." And his two guys started mumbling in the audience, and he said, "Shut up, you bitches." It's kind of classic.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. I feel like there was another part on that when you were in that conversation, which I think was, to me at least, the most poignant thing as far as is it important that people see him this way or that way? It's like, who cares about the sexual preferences of an old man? I'm an old man. What do you care? Yeah.
The other thing I asked him, I said, "Have you ever read what the Encyclopedia Britannica said about you?" And he goes, "No." He said, "They sent me a set. My brother Dakin has it down in Key West, but I've never read it." And I read it to him, what it said, and he goes, "Oh, how pet." It was very enlightening. But he was delightful to talk to. Mm-hmm. Just so smart. And he was just very open. It was funny. When I did the story, the national office, which was based in San Francisco, thought the story was too racy.
What?
They did not run the story nationally. The Associated Press picked up the story from a local reporter here in town, David Cuthbert. And it made the quote about where he discovered his homosexuality made the front page of the New York Times and the San Francisco Herald-Examiner, but it never ran on PM National because it was too racy.
I can't believe that.
Well, it was the 80s, it's just...
Well, even still, I know that San Francisco has the reputation of being
of course.
very, very gay-friendly, obviously.
Yeah, but it was just a different time.
Wow. Unreal. Give me your best Stella.
No, I don't do Stella.
You don't do Stellas?
No. I leave that to the guys at the Tennessee Williams Festival. All right.
Do you normally attend that? Is that a regular thing for you?
Well, I used to be part of it. I used to do some forums there, things like that. And this past Tennessee Williams, I did a virtual interview with Peggy Scott Laborde. She and her husband Errol founded the Tennessee Williams Festival.
Yes.
And we talked about the interview because she did a documentary using my footage on Tennessee Williams.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It ran on PBS.
I never watched that.
Oh, it was great. It was a half-hour special. She did a magnificent job on it. And I remember I was in Washington one time, and I was I was on the phone with a friend in Washington. His wife was on one of the TV stations there, and he ran a production company. And he goes, "Do you have PBS in your hotel room?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Flip it on." He said, "Your documentary's on." Oh, okay.
That is great. You mentioned your friendships with musicians as well, so I am obligated to talk about Fats Domino for no less than, I don't know, X amount of minutes, because that's how big of a deal it was to me, secondhand, third hand, whatever you want to call it. And before we get into it, while we're still talking about Tennessee Williams into Fats Domino, talk about two of the most influential men in American history for the 20th century, without a doubt. The greatest playwright, probably arguably the greatest playwright, and one of the most important musicians of all time as well.
Well, and one of the things that pisses me off about this city is when they talked about renaming streets and schools and buildings, Fats Domino was not in the mix. Mm-hmm. I was livid. I said stuff on the air. I called council people. I don't know what these people are thinking, but there are three musicians who are the biggest worldwide musicians from New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Louis Armstrong, mm-hmm. Mahalia, excuse me, there's a fly, Mahalia Jackson. Mahalia, did I say that right?
Mahalia Jackson, that is her name.
I'm sorry, I've had a couple of drinks.
That's all right. Drink up. I already ditched my glass. I'm just going
Mahalia Jackson and Fats Domino. Mm-hmm. So go ahead. And there's an airport in the park named after Louis. Mm-hmm. There's a theater named after Mahalia. There's nothing named after Fats. They're going to change Caffin Avenue to Fats Domino.
All right, that's where his famous the house that is.
Well, the annex to his house.
Yeah,
his actual house is in Murray.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah. But it's just like that. I was livid about that. I can't imagine that was not top on people's minds.
You know what? I know everyone has preferences this way or that way. And we obviously here, as much as we love Fats, we love Professor Longhair as well. Luckily, we kind of get to be a monument for Professor Longhair in a lot of ways, as well as his family home.
Oh, yeah.
On Terpsichore, however you pronounce it.
Terpsichore.
Yeah. Terpsichore.
That's okay. I blanked out on Mahalia Jackson.
But yeah, no, Fats Circle, Fats Way, Fats anything.
It should have been,
Domino
our name, some
anything.
school. Wouldn't you like to go to Fats Domino High School?
I would love it.
Oh, my God.
I would love it.
I'd go back to high school.
Yeah, no, you're right. And at the time, at least, the biggest selling recording artist in history, second only to Elvis, I think.
Well, and he and Dave Bartholomew were the John Lennon and Paul McCartney of the 50s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Tell me about first trying to meet him before you even got to.
I had met Fats back in the 80s, and I like everybody else. Angela Hill tried, Bill Elder tried, everybody tried to get an interview with Fats, and he just wouldn't do it. I remember it was either the late 80s or early 90s. I had talked to his daughter, and he was going to be at the airport, and so I was going to try and just grab him as he was walking.
Him at the airport.
Yeah, this was before 9/11, so you could walk down the to the.
Go right to the terminals.
Yeah, right to the terminal, right to the gate rather. And so all of a sudden, Fats is walking down in a full-length mink coat.
Nice. Nice.
And I stopped and I said, "Fats, can you just talk just a few minutes?" He goes, "Oh, I wish I could, Eric, but they're holding the plane for me right now." And so he said, "But come by the house." So I went by the house when he got back in town a week later or so. And I got to the front door and I said, "Fats, can we do the interview? You said you'd do it." He said, "No, I can't do it." And every time I try, every time anybody would try,
he knew who you were too. You weren't just like he watched the local news.
He was a fan of the morning news.
Yeah.
But so then on his 76th birthday, which was 2004, I think, my news director at the time made a bet with the assistant news director that I could get him. Mm-hmm. The assistant news director bet against me, and so they told me the bet, and so I called Fats' daughter, Adonica, and I said, "Do you think Fats would do an interview with me?" She goes, "Well, I'll go ask him." And she comes back and she says, "Yes, he would." I said, "Well, do me a favor, go ask him again, because he's done this to me before." And so she goes back. She says, no, he said he'll do it. So I called downstairs and I said, yeah, he's going to do an interview with me after the noon show. I was doing the noon show at the time, morning and noon show. So after the noon show, we head over to Cavan Avenue. And we go. He's in the annex. And I get to the door, and I'm sure he's going to say, no, I can't do it. But he welcomes me in. We go in. And we just sat down, and he was asking me questions about the morning show and Sally Ann and all kinds of stuff. And, he was a big fan of the morning show.
Yeah.
Which blew my mind. The only other one who ever blew my mind like that was Al Hurt was a fan of the morning show.
Was he really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And that kind of blew my mind. So anyway, we're talking, and for some reason we hit it off, and he had this picture of him in a yellow jacket standing in front of his Cadillac couch, which is a very famous.
Yeah, the pink. Yeah.
So I said, God, Fats, that's just a beautiful picture. You look great in that picture. So we do the interview, and the story runs, and a couple of days later, there's a package at the station. He had sent me the picture.
What?
And he put a little card on it, and he signed it, and and it was just like, it was awesome. And then he called me up and he said, do you want to go get a drink? And I said, yeah. And I said, is this your cell? And he goes, yeah. And I'm going, that's Tom's cell phone. So we go to a place on St. Claude Avenue, Moore's Bar. It's gone now.
Okay.
And we park on the neutral ground. We drove in my Jeep to go there. Park on the neutral ground. We get out of the car and we're waving to people as we go in. And then we sit in there and we're sitting at the bar. We sat there for an hour or so, just drinking and talking. Some Fats Domino songs came on, and it was just a really cool experience. And then he called me up and he said, I'm doing a couple of concerts in Biloxi at a casino. They're all sold out, but he goes, would you like to ride over with me? And I said, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stop everything to hang out with you, Fats Domino.
So, yeah. So I drove over with him, and it was I think it was in May or June. It was hot as hell.
Yeah.
And so I told his driver, Mr. Ronald, I said, can we, because they had the windows open. I said, can we turn the AC on? It's hot. And he goes, oh, no, Fats doesn't like it before a concert. So we get there, and we come in the artist entrance. I come in with Fats, and then he's got his entourage, and I'm standing around with him, and then he goes back and he talks to the band members, stuff like that. And then a friend of his, Ida Ellis, comes up to me and she goes, Fats wants to know if you'll introduce him. And I said, really? And she goes, yeah, he thinks you're a big star. So I go up on stage and I introduce Fats Domino, and it was great. Then while I was on the side of the stage, I took a picture of Fats, which is a great picture. Going forward after Fats' death, when CVU NOLA was doing all those utility boxes, they had one I live on Jefferson Avenue. And
what's your address, real quick, for the
but catty corner from the Starbucks. So they had torn up Jefferson Avenue to redo it, and then they put on a brand new big utility box. And so I called CVU NOLA and I said, I really would like to have that box, a Fats Domino box. It would be very important to me. And the woman who runs it said, well, no, we already have one in the 9th Ward. And I said, this is really important for me. I will get it paid for. I'll do what I have to do, but I want to do it. She goes, well, do you have a picture? And I said, well, yeah. So the picture I took in Biloxi in 2004.
That's the one that's right there at Jefferson and Ferret?
At Jefferson Ferret.
Oh, man. That's cool.
And they did that. And then they called me up later and said, that's the most beautiful one we have. And the artist who did it, Robin Danning, did such a beautiful job, and I went and talked to her. She was so honored to be doing Fats Domino, and I'm going, okay. Everybody understands it except the people who were talking about renaming streets and schools and buildings in New Orleans.
No, it's it's one of those things where, well, why is that, do you think? Why is he... I don't think the word is discarded because everyone that knows loves him.
Oh, of course.
Everyone knows the name.
Yeah.
There's no living humans that don't know who Fats Domino is. Why do you think it's... Why is it? Is
It's
it because,
inexplicable
was
to
it
me.
his humble nature, though? Because that's, like you said, he thinks you're a big celebrity.
No,
when you watch those videos of you coming into his home with the cameras and you ask him about, like, being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's like, oh, you heard about that, huh?
Yeah.
We heard about it.
No,
we
yeah.
heard all about it. Everyone hears about everything you've ever done, Fats Domino. You know?
Yeah, because he's Fats frickin' Domino.
Yeah. Like, why was it that he didn't know that he was Fats Domino?
I don't. Well, no, and I said this when Fats died, I was getting calls from radio stations all around the country, all around the world. Actually, I was doing an interview with the BBC, and I said, as humble as Fats was, Fats had an ego. Fats knew who he was.
Okay.
Fats liked the flashy, jewelry and stuff like that. And he understood his relevance. He was humble about it. But it's just like when I asked him, I said, you got the Beatles. You got to see the Beatles. And he goes, no, the Beatles got to come see me. And he said,
Yeah,
the
Fats
Beatles.
Domino did not open for the Beatles. The Beatles opened
The
for
Beatles
Fats
opened for
Domino.
him in Liverpool.
Yes.
And one of the reasons they wanted to come to New Orleans was because of Fats Domino and people like that. So, no, I don't get it. And the other day I was listening to the Beatles station on Sirius Radio, and they were talking about the people that influenced the Beatles. Fats Domino comes on. And I'm going, okay, Sirius gets it, the Beatles get it, New Orleans doesn't.
Yeah.
And I'm just appalled by it. He should have been on the top of the list. And I called, and they talked about naming Robert E. Lee Allen Toussaint, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Allen's an icon. He deserves everything.
He deserves every bit, yeah.
But I called Allen's son, Reggie, and I said, Reggie, as much as I love your dad, when I got the interview with Fats, Allen walked into the studio and went like this. And I said, you know how much your dad loved Fats.
Yeah.
And I said, your dad deserves to be up in the mix. But to forget about Fats is criminal.
Yeah.
And Reggie agreed. Because everybody from Dr. John to Allen Toussaint to Irma to everybody in town, they were all influenced by Fats Domino.
If only we had some sort of platform where we could disseminate information out
if
to
we
all
just
the people
did.
of New Orleans for the past 40 years.
If we just did, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
I wonder if we can
I
get the
could
word
just
out
get
on
a
this.
show,
Yeah. Well, maybe, fingers crossed, you can get another internship at a radio station and
There you
start
go.
telling people, I guess. Let's talk about after Katrina, going to his Ninth Ward home after Katrina.
Well, first of all, before Katrina hit, Sally Ann and I were on the air for hours on end. And I was calling Sally Ann's mom because she was over in Pass Christian and she was not going to leave.
Yeah.
And I'm on the phone yelling at her. I called Fats. I'm yelling at him because he's not going to leave. And they just weren't going to leave. And I was telling people on the air, I said, there's only two people who stay in New Orleans when the storm like this is coming. People who have to, and stupid people. It's just like, it was big.
Yeah.
So anyway, Katrina hits and Fats, the rumor was Fats had died in the storm. He did not. He was rescued. Who did he stay with? I think he stayed with Marcus Allen or somebody up in
I'm not totally sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
He was your friend, not mine. I don't know.
No. But anyway, so he comes back and he's living at a hotel downtown, and so we'd go to the Bourbon House, have drinks and stuff. But when he went back, he hadn't been back to his house yet. I went back with him when he was going back to his house on Murray Street, and we get there and we're walking around, and I mean he had 13 feet of water. The two grand pianos were flipped over in his house. It was just a mess. And we're walking in the backyard. We're looking at stuff, and he's just going, boy, this is just awful. And I started singing "Ain't That a Shame," and he goes, "Oh, Eric, that's cold." And then we get inside, and he didn't say much about the grand pianos. That was in the Murray house, the big house. Then we go over to the annex on Caffin Avenue, and he had a big pink room, and then there was an upstairs where he had a bar and
a little balcony seating.
A balcony seating, yeah. And then the TV was on the wall and at the side, and he had a glass top bar with a bunch of silver dollars. Well, somebody had broken the glass top and taken all the silver dollars. Well, he talked about that for 45 minutes. Did not really care about the 2 grand pianos, but those silver dollars he was really upset about.
Yeah.
And we found out later that his son Tony had come and gotten him.
Yeah.
So everything was fine.
Okay, that's some relief. Some
Yeah.
relief. Well, ultimately, his house was rebuilt, and
The house wasn't. The house has been gutted.
yeah,
The Caffin Avenue annex was redone.
yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
And that's the most recognizable. That's what
Yeah,
people
I was going to say that is
recognize,
what
yeah.
people see. It's right there on the street. It's
He
right
has the
off
big
main
FD
road.
on the front and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about his final performance.
Here at Tipitino's on
Here
the
at
stage.
Tipitino, literally, I think right where I'm sitting, I think is where he was.
Yeah.
There is.
He actually was right about where you are.
Yeah. That's. I mean, we're
Yeah.
birds of a feather.
Yeah.
There's a moment, and I think a lot of people have probably seen there's a PBS special, obviously, of that performance.
Yeah.
A lot of interviews with yourself and Keith Spear and all kinds of people who have plenty to say, obviously, about Fats Domino. But the performance itself was obviously magical for all the people that were here. There's
Totally sold out.
tears and all the stuff. And I think the world couldn't be happier that it was captured on film, obviously, and put together so nicely like it was. But there's a moment where he gets up and starts to walk away, and then you step over and lean in and whisper something to him. What
Well,
happened?
it was
What did
quite
you
a night.
say?
I'll start from the beginning. The previous owner of Tipitino's, Roland von Kernatowski, we're all back in the back. There was a chop house. They call it the chop house in the back.
Yeah, well, it's next door.
It's next door, wherever. So we're back there, and Roland had spent a ton of money to have 8 high-definition cameras, a truck outside with a director and everything, and
Very well produced. Yeah.
very well produced. And so we're sitting back in the back, and Fats is drinking a Heineken. Normally he didn't drink before a concert. So Roland walks over, and he goes, Fats, you ready to play? And Fats goes, I'm not playing tonight. Roland did like that.
That was all the blood rushes out of his head.
This is the big one, Elizabeth. Yeah. So then I said, just let me talk to him. So I said, Fats, no, this is a concert you wanted to do. And he goes, you're pulling a trick bag on me, Eric. And I said, no, we're not. You want to do this. And he said, well, I what if I can't remember everything? I said, you'll be fine. Just pretend like we're at your, because at the time, the Murray House, Caffin Avenue, had been destroyed.
He was living on the West Bank.
It was on the West Bank
Yeah.
in Barclay Estates, I think. So I said, and I'd go over and visit him all the time, and we'd be in his bedroom. We had a keyboard in his bedroom. He'd play for me all the time. And I said, you don't miss a beat when you're in your bedroom. Just pretend like we're in your bedroom playing. And so I said, I'm going to get you up, and Ida and Steve Ellis, who were 2 very close friends of Fats. I said, I'm going to have Steve and Ida bring you over to the artist entrance, and we'll be fine. And so we get him up, and Steve and Ida bring him over. I came over early, and I'm inside. And Art Neville and his wife are sitting right behind stage, and the house is sold out. And Fats gets in, and he doesn't want to go up on stage. So I said, Fats, you got to go up and sing some songs. You just got to. So he gets up, and he sings, I think, 3 songs. Then he stood up and waved to the audience. He starts walking off. So I jump up on the stage. I say, Fats, you got to sing more. And he goes, what'll I sing? I said, sing Blue Monday, and we'll feed you songs after that. And so his manager, Reggie Hall, started feeding him songs after that. And it went on for 45 minutes, whatever. And it was an incredible concert.
It's beautiful. The whole thing was wonderful.
And Fats, let me tell you what, Fats sounded as good as ever.
Perfect.
Oh,
Perfect. It was. I would say just a flawless performance, top
Yeah.
to bottom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't have asked for anything more.
He was such a natural piano player, and and he knew how good he was, but he was very humble about it.
Yeah.
But no, he was incredible.
Yeah. I don't know. You covered everything I wanted to know about Fats Domino. I guess I'm sure there's more. We could talk about Fats Domino for hours.
There's
and hours.
more, and it's just like well, the most touching thing that ever happened to me. I got to be friends with Dave Bartholomew, and Dave and Fats, most people didn't realize, did not get along.
Yeah.
In fact, they disliked each other, almost hated each other.
Even back when they were making records in the early days?
Well, no, they got along well then, but Fats sucked all the oxygen out of a room. Fats was the star. Dave was brilliant, and a good businessman, a brilliant musician, great writer.
Yeah.
And so they hadn't talked. I didn't realize the animosity. I met Dave through Alan Tucson. Alan Tucson invited me to a party one night, and Dave Bartholomew was there. And I walked up to him and I said, "Mr. Bartholomew, my name's Eric Paulsen." He goes, "Oh, I know who you are. You're Fat's friend." I said, "Yeah." And I said, "You're Fat's cohort." And he goes, "That son of a."
Oh, wow.
And it was like, I said, well, I'd like to do a story with you. So I went over there, and every time I bring up Fats, it was just like he didn't want to talk about it. So then a few years later, in 2010, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame wanted to honor both Fats and Dave as two of the greatest, arguably, with the first rock and roll song.
Yeah, I was going to say,
the Fat Man.
The heartbeat of rock and roll started with them.
Yeah, so I called up Adonica, Fats' daughter, because at that time Fats wasn't answering his phone too much. And I said, "I'd like to get Fats and Dave together. You think he'd do it?" And she goes, "I'll ask him." So she came back and said, "Yeah, he'll do it." And then I called up one of Dave's sons, and I said, "I'd like to get Fats and Dave back together." And he goes, "Absolutely not." And I said, "Well, will you do me a favor? Will you ask Dave as a personal favor to me, would he consider it?" Next day I got a call back from his son, and he said, "Yeah, he'll do it, but there got to be certain conditions." And I said, "No." I said, "Dave is sharp as a tack. Fats was waning at that time." And I said, "We'll do it over at Fats' house. It'll be great." And so he said, "Okay, but we want to have a meeting first." And we had a meeting, and Dave's sons are very protective of him, and they're two of the nicest guys. But the families really hadn't talked in a long time.
Yeah.
And so then I went over there I met Dave over there with his sons Don and Ron, and then Adonica was there, and they just wanted those few people there for the reunion. It was the first time they had really talked.
40, 50 years?
No, it's probably about 20 or so.
Okay.
Because the animosity had grown so much. I mean, they had been seen a couple of places together, but they didn't really have two words to say to each other. And we ring the doorbell, and Fats opens the door, and he goes, "Dave, I haven't seen you since the last time." And they get in. It was like watching two kids who didn't miss a beat. I get misty thinking about it. It was the neatest thing.
I mean, they were all smiles, and they played again.
God,
they played together again.
They played together again. That was amazing. That was just amazing. And they talked about the old times, and then I said in the interview, I said, let's be honest. If it weren't for Fats, there'd be no Dave. If it weren't for Dave, there wouldn't be a Fats. And if it weren't for Cosmo Matassa, there wouldn't be a Fats and Dave. And they said, "You're right." And they said, "Why have we waited so long?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, we're together now. We're good."
Yeah, man. You're the guy.
It was.
You're the guy.
Awesome.
I know that's not about you at all, but
No, it's not.
And
the neat thing is the families are still close.
that's good.
So the Dominoes and the Bartholomews are still friends.
I see Don every once in a while. Like he rolls past, he'll jump out of the car just to say hello and give
And
me a hug.
the most awesome thing is
They're nice,
I feel
yeah.
like they're both sides are family.
Yeah, they're nice.
It's just wonderful.
That is beautiful. Yeah, I think it's I don't know. I don't know. Where else
No,
to
where do you go
with
from there?
Exactly.
It's just like it was just,
Exactly.
and then they played the story at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because I think Dave went, but Fats didn't.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing I think a lot of people don't realize about Fats. Because when he stopped playing, he stayed home. You didn't see him around as much. So
No.
a lot of people didn't realize his health was waning a bit, deteriorating, having a little bit of trouble, just kind of getting up and around. So
Yeah. Well, it's just like in 2006 when he was supposed to headline at the Jazz Fest. I was having lunch with Steve and Ida Ellis. We were all supposed to go and pick up Fats and go to the show and watch the show at the Jazz Fest. So we're having brunch, and Ida gets a call from Fats that he's not feeling well. So we go over to the West Bank, and he wants to go to see the doctor. His doctor was at the Jazz Fest waiting for him to perform.
Wow.
They called him. He came over to Oxnard, and Fats was fine.
yeah.
And then he just was worried about playing. So we're all four of us in my Jeep, and so we're leaving Oxnard. I said, "Well, what do you want to do, Fats?" And he goes, "I want to go home." So we start driving down Jefferson Highway when it turns into Claiborne. We get to Napoleon, and I say, "Fats, let's just go to the Jazz Fest and see what's going on." So we make a left-hand turn on Napoleon, go over to the Belford entrance, and we get up to the artist entrance, and I roll down the window, and I said, "I have Fats Domino here." So the woman goes, she calls on the phone on the radio to Quint. Quint, Fats Domino's here with Eric Paulsen. And Quint goes, "He's there with Eric Paulsen." He said, so we go in, we go back to his trailer, and Paul Simon comes in to pay homage to him. Lionel Richie, who was going to perform on the Acura stage instead of Fats, because Fats was not going to perform. And all the other stars are coming over to see Fats, and it was kind of amazing. And then Fats goes up and he waves, and then we wind up on my back porch that afternoon having drinks. And he didn't play the Jazz Fest.
Yeah.
But the front page of the Picayune had Fats Domino waving to the audience.
That's his influence. That's
Yeah,
his influence.
I know. But, okay, they understood it then. They just don't understand it to name a building or a street or whatever.
They'll wake up eventually. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's so wonderful. All right, let me take a sip and then we'll change.
All right.
Eric,
Tank.
you've been reporting the news for a long time, and the stories vary from day to day. It's all over the place. Sometimes it's a lot of feel-good stuff. This past year has obviously been pretty difficult. Today, I think was the first day that you actually got to sit down on the same sofa with your co-anchors, which was I saw some of the morning broadcast this morning. It was nice. I didn't even hear you guys say it. At one point in time, I looked up at the TV and I said, "Oh, hey, it's not split screen today."
Well, no, we started out each half hour saying, just how great it was to be back.
Yeah. Well, here's my question. Sorry to interrupt this, but all the terrible news that you've had to deliver to the people, and all the good news, how do you not let this totally weigh down on you all the time? Like, I mean, the story, again, you've been on the air in New Orleans since '77. The amount of good news and bad news that has come across in the past 44 years is unconscionable, especially the past couple of years, but the last 44 years.
Yeah.
Like, how is this something where you can just kind of put on a smile every morning?
Well, the only time that it really got to me, and I did cry on the air, was after Katrina.
Yeah. It's not the only time you cried on air, actually.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Oh, that's when Andre Trevine died.
That was
my
yeah,
God,
we'll get to that too, yeah.
I forgot about that. But anyway, that was the first time I cried on the air. And Sally, who wears her emotions on her sleeve, Sally Ann Roberts, she's a rock. I mean, when tragedy is, she's a rock. I was not.
Yeah.
And after Katrina hit, and we would have escaped it had it not been for the 3 outfall canals. Had there been floodgates on those outfall canals, most of New Orleans, anything west of the Industrial Canal, likely would not have flooded.
Yeah.
And I just, when I came back from Baton Rouge, I was on a tear. The mayor of Houston invited Sally and me to come to talk to some of the evacuees. There were about 1,000 in an auditorium. And they had a lot of New Orleans politicians. And I got up on the stage and I just railed about how we needed the floodgates on those 3 outfall canals. And I said, we're not asking, we're telling you we need them. And I said, and the problem is, and I looked at the politicians, I said, you people, you need to get off your asses and get stuff going. And people were applauding like crazy. And then we kept on fighting and fighting and fighting, and then we did a forum on the morning news when we had a bunch of people, including the Corps of Engineers, and they had said that they did not have the authorization to do the floodgates. And on that forum, they announced they were going to do it. And it was just, it was great. And, you know, it was really important.
Yeah.
It was really important.
I mean, day in, day out, though. I mean, any one of us turns on the TV in the morning and sees you, you know, like, we start our day with you. Like I said, we invite you into our homes to help tell us what's happening in the world that day. And I'm sure there are plenty of days that you're just not feeling it.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a way to... I'm not asking for tricks of the trade necessarily or anything like that. Or maybe you have yourself a nice vodka tonic in the morning.
No.
And go about
I've always
your
been a
day.
late night drinker.
Yeah.
But it's always 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
No. It's what you do. You know, and it's just what you do.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're putting on an act, because the thing is, whether it was with Andre Trevine or Sally Ann Roberts or Sheba Turk and Leslie Spoon, you know, I'm not an actor. So the friendship or the camaraderie we have has always been genuine. Fights we've had on the air has always been genuine. So and I always tell people, you know, the morning news is kind of like life itself. You know, it's not all good or bad, happy or sad. You know, we kind of like are a companion in the morning, and that's how I always felt the morning show was. Is, you know, we're all getting up early. Nobody wants to be up early. I'm not a morning person, which kind of sucks.
Fooling us for the better part of 4 decades.
Yeah. Or fooling myself, one of the two. But it's just like, you know, it's just, you want to be there for people, and I don't want people to know what my political beliefs are or religious or anything else. I want them to be, you know, whether you're a conservative or a liberal or whatever, I want you to feel like you can trust me. And that's what I've tried to build over the years.
I mean, I think you have, at least. You know, speaking for myself and anyone that I know that knows you, feels like, you know, you're one of the trustworthy names. You're not trying to spin something or anything like that.
No,
You're just trying to
no.
deliver. You're not looking at it at a political standpoint. You're looking at it as a local standpoint.
Well, and what's sad
Like-
about this day and age is people think opinions are facts and facts are opinions, and that's what is sad about this business now and about this world. And I think as much good as the internet has done, it's done equal amounts of harm, because, you know, it gives a voice to everybody who doesn't need a voice. It disparages a lot of things to where, you know, you don't look at facts anymore as factual. You think they're opinions, and facts are facts.
Yeah.
I can't deny there is a pillar behind you over your left shoulder. That is a fact. You can deny it, say it wasn't there, but the fact is the pillar is there.
It's a hoax. It's actually a column.
Looks like a pillar to me.
Well,
I'm a classier
you're
guy than
touching
a
on it,
column.
though.
It's a pillar.
News in the era of social media. Like, you have seen this massive shift in the past 10, 15 years on how news is delivered, interpreted, consumed.
Yeah.
Everything. Like, sometimes do you wish, like, maybe Dennis and Sally Ann had it right by just walking away from this? This is not the same beast that we used to tell.
Well, I'm not ready to. I still enjoy.
I don't want you to leave. I hope you don't think that.
I understand
Okay,
that.
yeah.
I still enjoy the show. I enjoy what I do. I love learning about new things. I do stories that I want to do now. Mm-hmm. I do a restaurant franchise because I love food. I do a lot of music stories because those are a couple of my passions. Mm. And I like telling stories. Mm-hmm. I like learning. I like learning something new every day. And that's the one thing I've always loved about my job is I have such a natural curiosity about life, and I want to learn something new every day. Mm-hmm. And I've never met anybody, and I mean anybody, that I haven't learned something from. Whether it's a 12-year-old musician or a 110-year-old author. Mm-hmm. I learn something from everybody. Mm-hmm. Because everybody's got a story.
Well, on that same note, though, like you said, sometimes the social media, the internet, is giving a voice to the people that, it sounds awful to say that some people don't deserve a voice. But I remember 12 years ago watching, I don't know, national news, whatever it was. There was a Twitter scroll across the bottom of the screen on a national cable news station. And it had random strangers that are not political pundits or news persons or anything like that, just opinions scrolling on there. And I remember thinking, why the hell do I care what some jerk I've never met in Iowa has to say about the president of this or the
I agree
the
with
vote
you.
about that or whatever else?
I agree with you 100%.
Like, why, give me some opinions on voices to the voiceless. And I don't know. I don't know exactly where I'm going with
Well,
this.
I've never been a fan of the
scroll?
The scroll underneath anyway, because I remember one time watching on CNN, they're talking about some disaster somewhere, and the scroll came across and it says, Beyonce doesn't like bootylicious. I'm going, you're talking about death and destruction.
Let's break up the monotony of this with some Beyonce opinions.
But the thing is, and we did it for a while, and I pleaded with them to stop it. We'd read live Twitter things, and I really don't care what Bite Me 69 thinks about.
No, but it does make it interactive though, because now the audience is part of the show. They can say, hey, like they're sending you pictures of a tornado on the lake. Or whatever,
that part is great. That it is wonderful because they become our eyes and ears.
Though.
Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm. That part is wonderful. For the last storm we just had, the viewer video and stuff like that, it just helps us immensely. Mm-hmm. That part I do love. And I do love, I want to hear from people. Like, if I say something stupid, I want to know. Mm-hmm. Or if I've said something wrong, I want to know because I will correct it. Mm-hmm. The one thing I do not want to say is something that is erroneous or misinformation on the air. And I've told people, if I say something wrong, call me out. Mm-hmm.
I know your co-anchors love to call you out for it too.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Even when I'm right. But no, I just, our medium is supposed to be information that is supposed to be accurate.
Yeah.
And if I don't know it, I don't want to report it.
Well, what are your thoughts on some of the national cable stations or whatever else that seem more than happy, both left and right or whatever else, to just choose and pick opinions and facts, like you say, the facts are opinions and the opinions are facts. Like the news spin, I guess, the spin doctors of the news.
I don't like it. I'm not a fan of opinion news. News should be news. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, this happened today, and you can't spin. Okay, if you talk about a car crash or even the attack on the Capitol, that happened. Just report what happened. Don't give your opinion or anything else.
Yeah, the anchors shouldn't be asking questions of the viewer, essentially.
No, because the viewer, unless the viewer was there, but
But what I'm saying is when they say maybe this person is a member, I don't want to get political or anything. Maybe this is a member of Antifa, or maybe this is someone that is like, dude, you're the reporter.
You don't know.
Why are you asking us?
No.
You should be reporting facts.
Exactly.
Like if there's a theory to be said, I want that theory to come from an educated person.
Exactly.
That is a trusted source for theories that might be factual.
Well, there's a conservative pollster named Frank Luntz, and he said the trouble with people now is they don't want information, they want affirmation.
That's very.
And
well
I thought
put.
that was brilliant
It's very well put.
because that's what social media is.
Yeah.
You want clicks, you want response, you want things like that. It's not that you want to give information, you want people to say, wow, your life is great.
When did news become entertainment then?
It's been a long metamorphosis.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a long It's when news became profitable in a business.
Yeah, I think that's something that people don't forget. Like news, I'm sure everything on TV has been about ratings for a long time, long time. But yeah, the theory that the ratings only come by entertaining the viewer and not informing the viewer. Like when did one take precedence over the other?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know, we're an information-driven, and we can be entertaining. And I've always said, on television, the worst thing on television, the worst crime you can commit is dull. But in our business, you either inform or entertain, and if you can do both, you know, you can really work out. And the morning show is like that. When we do news, we do news. When we have an entertainer on, we have fun and we cut up. But when there's a news story going on, or when there's breaking news, or a hurricane or whatever, I mean, we are there. It's news then, and you know we try to be as accurate as humanly possible.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of old school in that regard.
Well, I mean, you come from the Walter Cronkite days
The
when
era,
you were
yeah.
a kid.
Yeah.
That was the guy. Like
Yeah.
no one. He wasn't giving opinions. Every word he said, people believed without question.
Well, and somebody asked Walter Cronkite one time, why is the news media so liberal? And he said, it's not that the news media is so liberal, it's just that our eyes are open to more than most people see. And so we see things a lot more. And it's not that you're liberal, it's just that when you're exposed to more in the world, you become a more educated person. And you accept more viewpoints. And it's just like until I experienced more music, you know, I thought music was only either classical or rock and roll. And then I get here and I it's funk and jazz and just all kinds of stuff. And it's just like, I'm going, yeah, because the more educated you are on anything, the more your eyes are open to understanding that not everybody is the same, not everybody thinks the same, not everything. Like if you and I both see an accident out on we're at Napoleon and Tchoupitoulas,
yeah.
and we see an accident, you and I are going to see the same story, but from two different viewpoints. You'll notice something I won't notice. I'll notice something you won't notice. And if you want to get biblical, you look at the four Gospels. They all tell the same story, but from different viewpoints. And so they're four different views of the same time of Jesus.
I'm Jewish. I don't follow.
Well, no, you're back in the Old Testament.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what the four Gospels are, so reference is lost on me.
But no.
But the car accident one works. There's a car accident every other week out here. So, yeah.
But exactly. But it's like, I remember when I was doing a lot of reporting, I'd go out on a story, and then I'd come back and I'd read the story in the paper, and I'm going, I was there. That's not what I saw.
Yeah.
And it's just different.
You mentioned the music thing, so I do want to touch on this just because it's just totally awesome that at least up until a year and 3 months ago, you guys regularly had live music on the morning show. There's not a whole lot of news stations in this country that have the willingness to take on an unknown local band and just let them jam for 30 seconds in and out of commercials.
I miss that so much. It's just like, I remember the first time we had Tank on from Tank and the Bangas.
Other Tank, for those who are confused, yes.
And it's just like, I fell in love with Tank, and you know, and I
friend and former guest of the program, by the way.
Yeah. But it's just like, and she's become a friend, and it's just like, we were in Cuba together. I went down to Cuba in January of 2020 with Trombone Shorty, Tank and the Bangas, the Soul Rebels. Anders Osborne, Big Chief Monk Boudreaux. I mean, it was an amazing trip, and New Orleans and Cuba just melded together. But anyway, I didn't mean to go off.
Expand. Like, go ahead and talk about that.
That was just amazing, and it's just like these are all people that I've known over the years. You know, I remember when Anders Osborne first got to New Orleans, seeing him at the Funky Butt, and just thinking, God, this guy's really good.
I miss the Funky Butt.
I do miss the Funky Butt.
Yeah.
It's just like, and we've had on the morning show. The morning show over the years, I mean, it's changed. It's changed with time because.
Real quick, you started the morning show on WWL.
The morning show.
Yeah. Fun fact for those who didn't realize, there was no morning news on WWL.
But in back in the day when it was Andre and me, and then Sally and me, we were a powerhouse show.
Yeah.
And I remember Michael Bolton came on the show, and he sang for us. And I said, "You're pretty good. You're going to go places."
Probably celebrate his whole catalog, right?
Yeah. But it's just like, it's cool. The people that, I mean, when big stars would come into town, they wanted to be on the morning show because they'd ask, "Where do you go to get seen?" And it was the Eyewitness Morning News. You know, but times have changed with social media and so many other venues, and you know, it just eras have changed.
Well, are there things that you still reminisce about the old days of TV news in New Orleans?
Yeah, when it was just
not just the people. I mean, like maybe the style of news or the way that things were reported on, or maybe even just the city back then.
The city was different then. It just when I first got here. The French Quarter was not so touristy. You know, it was just a whole different time. I remember the first time I met Al Hurt. He was remodeling a house, I think on St. Louis Street. I think he was on his third or fourth wife. I can't remember. And we just sat and talked. He was redoing the house, and he had a master craftsman doing the crown molding and the woodwork in his house, and it was just beautifully done. But we sat there and we talked, and he told me that he used to watch me in the morning, and it's like I was kind of amazed by that. It always blew my mind when people like that said they were fans of the show. But it's just like, and then I got to be friends with Chris Owens, and then every Mardi Gras I'd be on her balcony. Sometimes Al Hurd would be up there, or you know, other celebrities and stuff like that. It was just a different time.
Yeah,
it was a different era, and the town was different then. It was a big. When I first got to this market, New Orleans was the 34th biggest market in America. We are now the 50th.
Yeah.
So things have changed over the years. Some for the better, some for the worse.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I was just saying this the other day. Someone was asking me about Tipitina's when I first started working here back in 2003. And, like, I just started reminiscing about, like, well, yeah, the neighborhood was so much more different. And, like, compared to 10 years before that, the neighborhood was definitely way different. You know, like, the city has seen so many different changes.
I like change. Some things I don't like, but you know, life is evolving, and you know,
things just can't be cool forever.
Yeah,
you know?
And then new things get cool.
Maybe, I don't know. Not the new stuff isn't that cool, is it? I don't know.
There's a lot of new stuff I like. You know, it's just like I mean, I see a lot of these young artists come up, and I'm going, oh, they're really cool, you know. And when I watch Tank come up, I'm Tank and the Bangas, or Alexis and the Samurai. It's just like, you know, you see bands like this, and you go, damn, they're really good, you know. I remember when I was on PM Magazine, we were doing a live show from the World's Fair, the 1984 World's Fair, and James Andrews' mom brought James up, who was in his teens then, to see Lee Sinclair and me on the show. And James and I have been friends ever since.
Wow.
And then, you know, I watched Troy grow up. I watched Amanda Shaw grow up. I mean, they've all grown up on the morning news. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely cool. You've had this, you know, just talking about your career going back all these years, and the World's Fair obviously is just another one of those monumental things of New Orleans past that a lot of people forget this many years past.
Were you here for the World's Fair?
No, I was not. I didn't move here until 2000.
Oh my God, it was so cool.
I was 2 years old when the World's Fair was here.
Bite me.
And living in Houston. Yeah, sorry. You're considerably older than me, Eric. I don't mean to poke fun or anything. Don't worry. You're not nearly as old as Ace. Ace is old.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
He is old.
That's why he's good.
Yeah, exactly. And we touched on some of your co-hosts before also. Recently, you know, obviously you've been doing mornings with Sheba for a little while, and Sally Ann for many years as well. And you mentioned earlier about Andre Trevine, who passed away. And I wasn't poking fun at you, but I definitely, you know, doing the research, I went back and watched as many clips of you from you know, as many years ago as I could find some poignant moments. And there was a poignant moment when it was a couple weeks after she passed away, where you were doing kind of a short tribute to her and talking about your time with her, where you had to stop because obviously that it was getting to you with your time. And a lot of people thought that your rivalry on air was something that carried over into real life. No. That, I love watching them argue. They hate each other. But quite the contrary.
No, and that show with Andre and me, when we first got on, we genuinely did not like each other.
Okay.
we genuinely, because she...
This is right when you came back from PM Magazine?
From PM Magazine.
Okay.
She had gotten to be friends with John Quaintance, who had replaced me on the morning show when I went to PM Magazine. And so then they kind of unceremoniously dropped John and then put me on. And I think she may have resented it or whatever, but it started out really cantankerous. And then one day we just had it out, and then we became, I mean, really close friends. And we'd still argue on the air.
Yeah.
And that kind of made the show.
Couple of good clips of you just rolling your eyes.
There was one time, we used to fight on the air. There were times we didn't talk for weeks on the air. And I'd force her to talk to me, and that'd piss her off even more. And I always described our relationship as she was a stick of dynamite and I was a blowtorch. But off camera, we had become the best of friends.
Okay.
I mean, the best of friends. And when she passed, that was a rough one.
Yeah.
She was smart. And boy, she was opinionated. But no, Andre was just great.
Just another, lost voice of the city that I'm sure people.
Yeah.
Looking back, and it's not that it's been countless. Do you think? And I'm not going to ask you to do it. Do you think you can name every person that you've done the news with?
On the morning show?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Has it only been a few?
Well,
they haven't thrown in substitutes here and there?
I started alone.
Yeah.
Then they added Don Westbrook on to do the weather. Then I went to PM Magazine, and then I came back, and it was Andre and me and Don Westbrook, and then Sally Ann took over. We brought on, when Don retired, we brought on David Bernard. David Bernard and I are still really good friends.
Right.
And we used to go back and forth all the time. And then after David, we went through a few weather people. And then, the ones I remember the most, Laura Buckdell. Laura Buckdell was on for years, and I love Laura. Laura had an opinion about everything.
Okay.
And she was smart. Laura's smart. Just smart. And then we had Dave Nussbaum, and now we have Peyton Malone. And Peyton is great, and he fits right in. He just fit into our groove.
He's the weather guy.
He's the weather guy. Yeah. So, no.
You didn't mention
And then Sheba and Leslie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've become close friends with all of them. I mean.
I was gonna say, are there any that you don't remember so fondly that you feel like rolling under the bus on camera right now?
No, and during PM, Lee Sinclair is like a sister to me. Sally Ann's like a sister to me. It's just like it. I mean, Sheba's become like a little sister. Leslie and Sheba and Peyton and I all play tennis every Monday.
I was gonna say, Sheba sounds like every once in a while I see her like trying to get under your skin.
She's a pistol.
She's been trying.
She does.
As long as I can remember to get you to blow up on TV. She's the blowtorch to your stick of dynamite.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Here's a question that's gonna split the room. Who's the prettiest one on WWL?
I am.
Incorrect. Guess again. Guess again.
Let's see. Wow, we have so many beautiful people at WWL.
You're right.
I mean, honest to God,
who's the
really
prettiest
do.
one? Who's the prettiest one?
I'm not going to offend anybody.
All right, I'll tell you who it is.
Who is it?
It's Peyton Malone. Peyton Malone is the prettiest person on WWL, possibly in all of local New Orleans news.
If you don't cut this out, I will sue you.
Okay, go ahead.
No, he's a good-looking young guy.
He is the prettiest one on TV.
No,
He's so dashing and handsome.
Karen Swenson is just,
no one holds a candle to Peyton.
No, Karen.
I'm married. Peyton,
Karen is stunning. Sheba's stunning.
They're all stunning. Yeah. But they're not Peyton Malone. Peyton Malone. Tanner, go to the two-shot. We're going to put a headshot of Peyton Malone right here. So everyone can see
I'm
how
putting a
beautiful
vote
that
in
is.
for Devin Bartolotta.
What's that?
Devin Bartolotta.
She's nice. She's
Devin
cool.
Bartolotta,
Very lovely. Very lovely and talented.
Alexandra is beautiful.
All of them are lovely. All of them are talented. None of them are Peyton Malone.
Really? I can't wait to tell Peyton tomorrow morning
Feel
just
free.
Peyton, how big of a fan he's got.
Peyton, yeah.
with Tank Greenberg.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Peyton is single.
He is?
All right, well, I got some people, not myself. I'm
I thought you were in it.
I love my wife dearly. I'm not leaving my wife for Peyton Malone.
Can we get Peyton on
You
the
could
show?
adopt
Can
him?
we get Peyton on the show? That's a very good question.
Would you like Peyton on the show?
Possibly.
Okay.
Just so my wife can hang out with him, because I think she has a secret crush on him.
Okay.
Also, our other friend that lives down the street has a crush on him as well.
No, Peyton. And Sheba talks about how good-looking Peyton is all the time.
No, he's the prettiest one on TV.
Oh,
So tomorrow morning, if you wouldn't mind.
He makes me sick.
I don't have DVR. I might have to pull out a VHS player and tape the news tomorrow. Please pass it along on the air that he has some fans at Tipitina's.
I will. I will.
If you can make it. Keep drinking the vodka.
I am. It's good. It's Kettle One. It's good.
No, it's delicious stuff. We won't do this forever, I promise. Other fun stuff. Let's get to some more fun stuff. Is it true or false, I guess? You arrested Richard Simmons in the French Quarter.
And the cop is played by, just pan over here. Look at that cop face right there.
I look like a cop.
Yes, on the Regis and who was the co-host then?
Probably Kathy Lee.
Kathy Lee. Regis and Kathy Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I played a cop. Did you find that video?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I heard about it. I did my best to look for it, but I couldn't find it.
I had that video somewhere, but it was kind of cool. I played a cop, and Richard Simmons would come on the show all the time.
Richard Simmons is from here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I
from
thought.
here.
Yeah, I was going to say, he doesn't live here, but he is.
His brother used to work at City Hall.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, no. Yeah, that was cool. And Kathy Lee, and then when Kelly came on the show, they loved New Orleans. They came here and they just loved the place. And I remember I'm friends with the guys in Cowboy Mouth, and Fred had done a song, Fred LeBlanc.
Yeah, he's got the I Love Kathy Lee.
No,
song.
no.
Kelly Ripa. It's the
Kelly Ripa,
song.
the mommy with the body of a stripper.
That's right.
And so I said, oh my God, you need to get that on the show. It's going to be great. And he goes, no, I don't think so. But they finally wound up performing that on the show, and Kelly loved it. Mm-hmm. It was a great. It was a
fun song.
A really fun song.
Yeah, it's a fun song.
But I'm a huge Cowboy Mouth fan and a huge Fred fan. So
me too. Fred is no doubt. I know a lot of people that are not Cowboy Mouth fans, but
I don't know how you could.
There
not
is
be a
no
cowboy.
doubt that Fred LeBlanc is one of the greatest entertainers this city has ever produced.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I'm still friends to this day with Cowboy Mouth's manager, Stephen Klein. Mm-hmm. And back in the 90s, we used to, I probably have been to 100 Cowboy Mouth shows all around the country. It's just like, it was just a great band. And they still are.
Fun. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. And Fred, whenever he's in town, we're actually working on putting something together to have him back now that we're doing shows again. So I got an email from Stephen over the weekend, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So we're working on it.
No, Cowboy Mouth is great. And Fred is just, he's a consummate entertainer, and just, he is such an underrated talent.
Yeah, no, he is just pure entertainment. It oozes away from him. Let's talk about socks. You rocking any fun socks right now?
I am sockless tonight.
You're sockless tonight?
Yeah.
I wore fun socks just because I figured you might
Did you?
be
Let's
wearing
see. Pull
some.
up your pants.
I'm wearing a piano piece
the
socks.
piano ones.
Yeah.
I'm wearing the no hair socks.
Skin socks. The skin socks. All right. Not exciting. We can cut that out. I understand you're a bit of a gamer, but not typical games. Old games. What's the game room like at your house?
Miss Pac-Man.
Miss Pac-Man? Anything else?
I used to have 2 skee-ball machines.
You don't have them anymore?
No.
Oh man, I was hoping you were going to talk about skee ball for the next 20 minutes.
When we decided to have a child,
You have a young son, by the way.
I have a young son,
those who don't know.
4-year-old son. I have a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old. Maybe she's 22. All right. Anyway,
I'm not going to guess for you.
no. We knew that Bethany, my wife, was pregnant, and so I got rid of the skee-ball machines and made that a bedroom for my oldest son.
Okay.
And but no, the skee-ball machines, they were great, and it was a neat story how we got them. Tommy Satanovich, who owns Drago's,
Okay.
was over the house with his kids, and I had a pool table at the time, and they were playing pool, and Tommy said, I want to get a pool table. I said, well, you can probably have this one. I said, I want to get a skee-ball machine. And he goes, I want a skee-ball machine. So I started checking around for skee-ball machines, and they were quite expensive, but I found some skee-ball machines on eBay, and I called up the guy, and my wife goes, you're not supposed to call up people. I said, well, I don't care. I want the skee-ball machines.
Yeah.
There's a guy in New Jersey, and he had 3 skee-ball machines. And I said, if I buy all 3, will you give me a deal? Long story short, we made the deal. They were at the Six Flags at San Antonio.
Okay.
And I called up Tommy, and I said, Tommy, the good news is I got you a skee-ball machine. And I said, but they're in San Antonio. I said, I'll give you my pool table if you'll send your guys over to get them. And he did. He still has a skee-ball machine.
All right. Where did yours go?
I traded it out with a plumber for some work at the house.
Oh, man. For plumbing work, eh?
For plumbing work, actually.
That's all right.
But they were great. I didn't get the tickets because it was too much of a pain. But, I mean, we played skee-ball. It was just great.
Yeah.
I love that. Plus, and the Miss Pac-Man was
Is it Pac-Man Galaga?
No. It's the actual
just
real
Miss
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man.
It's
Okay.
a real Miss Pac-Man
Okay.
from the 80s. A friend of mine, Steve Gaudry, used to work at the station, gave it to me.
All right.
And it's great.
All right. We still have it then, huh?
Still have it.
Who's got the high score? You or Bethany?
Oh, me.
Okay.
I had when I redid the downstairs, I had a cubbyhole made exclusively for the Miss Pac-Man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We touched on them a little bit earlier, but who are Paulsen's people, and do you still keep up with any of them?
I did a remake on one. I did Morris Bart back.
He's probably your most famous Paulsen person, right?
Yeah, one of the most, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did a story with him 30 years ago. And on the 30th anniversary of that, I went back and did it. And it was amazing how much he had grown. At the time, when I did the story originally, he lived in Metairie. He had an office. He had the entire top floor of the Plaza Tower building.
Mm-hmm.
And he had maybe a few nurses and just a small staff.
Mm-hmm.
When I went back this last time, he had 120 lawyers working for him.
Mm-hmm.
He had 2 call centers, one in Birmingham, one here.
How many calls a day did they take?
3,500 a day.
I love that.
It was I was blown away. He is Morris Bart amazes me. He's just
For anyone who doesn't live anywhere near New Orleans, Morris Bart is one of our.
He's
most
all
famous,
over the Southeast,
Yeah,
though.
I was going to say his billboards go all the way up through Birmingham.
Oh,
like you
yeah.
said, probably to Georgia. Quite honestly,
No.
But he is a famous TV lawyer, I guess.
Yeah, and I'd asked him back.
He's one of the first guys to really take advantage of advertising for lawyers.
Yes, and he became an icon of the business. I mean, they looked down on him in the beginning, but now they're going, wow, you know, he knew what he was doing. Yeah, back in the day, his commercials they were pretty terrible. And I asked him at the time. This was back in 1989, and I asked him. I said, "So, do you think your commercials are good?" And he goes, "I do. I think they're very." he was a little more understanding that they probably weren't the best.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But what a wonderful guy, and he and his wife have done so much for the community.
Yeah, very philanthropic. Yeah.
They're just wonderful people.
Mm-hmm. It's, so any other Paulsen's people you keep up with? This is a local feature that you would do when you find someone that has an interesting characteristic.
Clifton LeBlanc, who used to have I think he has the Lexus dealership now. I think he had a Hyundai dealership at the time. And he would come on, his father was Price LeBlanc up in Baton Rouge. It was a big name up in Baton Rouge. And their commercial was something about, you know, you'll love the car, darling.
Okay.
And it was just like, and then Clifton started doing commercials, and so I did these commercial superstars. And Clifton was one of them. And then Michael Hebert, that's before your time.
Probably.
Michael Hebert used to have a furniture store, and he goes, and he'd be up on a platform or whatever, and he'd go, "We save you money." And
That's ripping off Mattress Mac. I'm not going to take that.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Do we have to get into this conversation? I'm sorry. As a Houstonian originally, living more than half my life in New Orleans.
What year was that?
Oh, Mattress Mac started making his commercials in the early 80s. He would cut out the guts of a mattress. So he would crawl in like a head hole and armholes outside of a mattress, or, you know, and do his commercials in the mattress. And it was gallery furniture really will save you money. And he would pull money out and jump up in the air at the end of every commercial.
Michael would throw
and he
the
recently,
money out.
you know, I don't know if he made the news because he made.
Oh, he was the guy that helped all the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
During Hurricane, what's it called? The floods in Houston, Harvey. He invited all the people to come stay on the furniture.
And I'll tell you
he donates so much money.
What a hell of a guy.
Mattress Mac is the guy who really saves you money.
Okay.
Free plug for Gallery Furniture. I-45 North between Tidwell and Parker, 694-5570. I'll never forget it.
So you're an Astros fan, I assume.
I was.
Okay.
I was. I used to follow a lot more sports than I do now. I don't follow baseball anymore. Quite honestly, I'm surprised it's televised still. But when I was a kid, huge Astros fan.
Yeah.
Huge Astros. And massive Rockets fan as well. Like, my old man had season tickets to the Rockets as long as I can remember. And there was a time where our tickets were 2 rows in front of that. the Astros owned the entire row. So
Oh.
Jeff Bagwell, Ken Caminetti,
Wow.
Jeff Biggio, all these guys would be sitting there with their wives or girlfriends or whatever. I have somewhere back home in storage a shoebox full of Houston Rockets ticket stubs signed by Houston Astros.
Oh, see, now, I've got stuff signed by St. Louis Cardinals because I grew up a St. Louis Cardinals fan. And, like, that's on full display at my house. So, I mean, it's just like Mackie Shillstone's a friend of mine, and he helped Ozzie Smith, the Wizard of Oz.
But no, I'm aware who Ozzie Smith is. I have an ID drop of him when I did radio. I got to meet him. Sorry.
There you go. So we had dinner with Ozzie over at Mackie Shillstone's house. And I mean, I'm like, oh, it's Ozzie Smith. So it was kind of cool.
All right.
And my wife was from the St. Louis area too. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
I had no idea.
she was actually when Mark McGwire hit his record-breaking home run. She was in Busch Stadium at the time
Oh, wow.
with her dad. So I take my hat off to her. She
Absolutely. And human growth hormone. Well done.
yeah. That's when baseball was good.
Baseball was good.
when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, sure, they say they were hyped up on stuff, but let me tell you what, you could take steroids, I could take steroids, we'll never hit like him.
No. I'm
or
not.
Barry Bonds or anybody else,
Yeah, you're right. While we're here, and I have just a couple more things that are going to be fun for us, but do you remember the first time you came to Tipitina's?
Oh, God.
And here's the fun thing. You moved here right after Tipitina's was founded.
Yeah.
We started January 14th, 77.
My biggest regret is that I never saw Professor Longhair here.
Yeah. I mean,
And
you
I
should
could have, and I just...
Shame on you. You had 3 years. That
yeah.
You could have,
And I did have the
played
chance
once
to do
a
it.
month for 3 years.
I know, and it's just like that is one of my biggest regrets. But no, it's just like I can't remember the first time I came here, but boy, it's changed over the years.
Yeah.
It has changed over the years.
Do you have any, aside from the obvious Fats Domino story that we talked about, any poignant memories that stand out of the first time you had a, paradigm shift of, oh, wow, at Tipitina's, something like that?
No, I mean, every show was great here. I mean, seeing the Meters here was awesome. Seeing the Nevilles here was awesome. One of the shows that really sticks out was a show after Katrina. Was when the first time I saw St. Paul and the Broken Bones.
Was it when they were opening for the Funky Meters? Or was it when they were headlining?
They were headlining.
Okay.
But I think you had gotten me tickets to it. And we were upstairs. And I didn't know what to expect. And I see this kind of nerdy-looking guy walk out. And all of a sudden, that voice and those moves, I have loved those guys ever since.
Coming soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Nice.
Weren't they supposed to go and then they had to cancel?
Well, they were going to be on our Jazz Fest from 2020.
Yeah.
That went
yeah,
away.
yeah. I remember I already reserved tickets for that.
Yeah, all right. We'll make sure. Oh, excuse me. It happens. First time they played here, they were opening for Dragon Smoke. And no offense to Dragon Smoke, because especially since two of the guys in Dragon Smoke are owners of Tipitina's now. No one remembers Dragon Smoke that night. They were the opening band and blew the roof off this place.
That first time I saw them, I did not know who they were, and it's just like, oh my God, they blew me away.
For sure. Couple more things before we do the wrap up. I have a couple things I want you to read, and I want you to see if you can tell me who said this originally. Please read that on the air. Or into the microphone. You can read it to yourself first.
I hope this wasn't me.
You weren't the first person to say this. This is a quote from somebody else.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of it's Ron Burgundy.
Well, read it, please.
Okay.
Read it as Ron Burgundy, if you wouldn't mind.
I can never. No.
Here's the thing. You
Will
started TV doing news in Ron Burgundy times.
Well,
so.
I did. And when Ron Burgundy first came out and people would come up, have you seen Ron Burgundy? I said, saw it. I lived it.
Scotch, Scotch, Scotch. I love Scotch, yeah.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me. I'm very important. I have many leather-bound books, and my apartment smells of rich mahogany.
It's pretty good. There is one more, and
Right.
you're going to know immediately what this is from, but I think it's the best movie about news of all time, and I want you to see if you wouldn't mind emoting as best you can. This is the speech, or at least the portion of the speech.
I'm not going to take it anymore. Mad as hell.
Can you do that? Have you ever done this out loud?
No.
All right. The
That's
following
long
is a
one.
quote from the movie
and
Network.
the trouble is, and like I said earlier in the thing, I'm not an actor.
I
I'm
know.
a terrible actor.
You have
done a few
acting
things.
credits technically
I
because you're in a
have
couple
acted
movies.
before,
Yeah.
but I can play a newsman, and that's it. I can probably play a
I
mad
was just saying, if you're not going to give me a Stella, at least give me one of the bold and
I
blinds.
want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to do riot. I want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the streets. All I know is that first you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life is of value. So I want you to get up now, and I want you to get out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Thank you.
I have actually said that before.
Have you?
Yep.
On the news?
No to management.
Oh, well, that's good enough, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, thoughts on any TV news stuff that you've seen? Do you like that movie Network, by the way? I mean, Ron Burgundy and Anchorman, it's funny. I know, it's a shtick. But
No, that was good. It
Network,
was very
that came out like while you had just started TV news.
It was a great movie.
Yeah. The Howard Beale character, obviously very influential in the I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to tell you, the most famous line of the movie, obviously.
Well, and I think a lot of people in this country are right now as mad as hell, and they're not going to take it anymore.
How poignant that all of this stuff that he talks about then is still the things that
It's
people are
still the
yelling
thing
about
now,
45 years later.
Yeah. And I don't know what to do. I wish we were not such a polarized people.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that science had not become a thing that people made political.
Mm-hmm.
I wish facts weren't relegated as opinion. I wish a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But, all I can say is I try to be as true as I can to what I know and what I believe.
Mm-hmm. Totally agreed. Nothing to say. We're going to wrap it up shortly. Before we do, there's something. I don't know if you said you'd watch some of these. I don't know if you made it all the way to the end. But there is something that we do with all the guests where we talk about po' boys. And obviously you've been around. You eaten your share of po' boys, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you to create your own po' boy. And this all comes from because Stanton Moore has his own signature po' boy. A guy's called The Bomb. Grilled catfish, grilled shrimp, cheddar Swiss dress. Doesn't matter what it is. But he created one, so we just thought it would be fun, and we ran with it. Chance for you to throw out a free plug to a favorite or your go-to po' boy or po' boy shop. And then I want you to create the Paulsen.
Well, the one I used to go to the most was Domelice's when Miss Dot was alive.
All right, yeah.
And now it's always Parkway or I mean,
you work on Rampart, so you got plenty of
There's so many places make great po' boys.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite po' boy, my go-to po' boy. I'm a simple person. I want a shrimp po' boy with tomatoes and hot sauce, and that is it.
No lettuce, no mayo,
Nope.
no nothing?
Nope. I want plenty of hot sauce and tomatoes.
Crystal hot sauce, I assume, right?
Crystal is always one of my favorite. Louisiana is good.
Mm. We're a Crystal house here.
Actually, the one I've kind of liked right now is that Mexican one, Cholula.
I'm not for the Cholula. I'm not one.
I kind of like
for the
it.
Cholula. It
but
doesn't work
Crystal-
on everything. I'm picky about
Crystal,
Cholula.
but Crystal's always my go-to.
It's the go-to, I would say.
Yeah,
We're a
Crystal's
Crystal
great.
house here. All right.
Well, the Balmer family has done a good job on it.
Yeah. Well, if you're a fan of Tipitina's TV, then you're a fan of Crystal hot sauce, quite honestly.
Well, and when I used to have my sailboat, I was at the Orleans Marina on Pier 1, And across from me was Al Balmer in his boat. A wonderful man.
Yeah, no, I'll bet. I don't know him. I've spoken with Pepper. I don't know how many times. He's a wonderful guy. I love him. I think it's great that the guy who runs the hot sauce place, his name is Pepper.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, you've been super generous with your time because I know you have early morning news to wake up. Everyone tune in tomorrow. You're not going to be seeing this live because this is going to be weeks before anyone sees it. But I think it'll be fun just to check out. Better give me a shout out for Peyton Malone on the news tomorrow morning.
I will.
You're not going to leave empty-handed.
I'm going to give him your number.
That's fine. Please do. Please do. Please do. No one leaves empty-handed. You, Eric Paulsen, are the recipient of a certificate suitable for framing. If you wouldn't mind reading that into the microphone, and you get a handy-dandy little folder so you don't lose it.
I don't need to write you a letter to get a Tip Patina certificate.
If
this
you want
is
a
even
sticker,
better than a...
Yeah, if you want a sticker, you have to write me a letter.
Okay.
To All Right Broadcast, care of Tip Patina's 501 Napoleon Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70115 for your sticker. But please read your certificate suitable for framing.
It says, certificate suitable for framing for participation in All Right Broadcast. We hereby certify that you, Eric Paulsen, are officially awesome for being interviewed on this day. You forgot to mention Tank.
No.
May 17th, 2021, for absolutely no monetary compensation whatsoever. Congratulations, and you're welcome.
That's right. You are welcome.
But you
can put this next to your local Emmys and Peabodys and all the other actual awards that live on those shelves.
I will do that. I'll put it
I fully expect to see this on the WWL.
Fats Domino picture.
Please. And you have a bunch of pictures that you're going to have to send us so we can add to this video, too.
Oh, I will.
Please do. Seriously, Eric, you're such a delight. I can't express how much it means that I have someone like you as a friend that at least I can reach out to do stupid stuff like this. But whenever we've ever needed anything at Tip Patina's, you've never hesitated for a second to help us out. And
well, because you're a good guy, Tank.
Well, thank you. But at the same time, like you're definitely a friend and fan of this place, and it shows. And there's no way we can thank you enough.
So, how many people actually call you Brian?
My wife does. My mom does. That's about it. No. There are plenty of people.
How did you get the name Tank?
Very interesting story, as it turns out. This will probably not make the final edit of this interview, but I used to do radio, as we talked about.
Yeah.
And I started out as an intern, and Brian the intern sounds stupid and lame, because every station has a so-and-so the intern that is just like a forgettable character. But there was a guy that used to do radio here on 106.7 The End. His name was Jace Edwards, and he used to do nights for the couple of years. I forget how many years exactly, up until Hurricane Katrina. And he was always looking for extra voices. He was the weird guy at night that was kind of the underdog that was just having all kinds of fun and building this cool cavalcade of misfits, as it has been come to know, of characters and people that used to play around at night and be really weird and cool and fun. And he invited me to come start doing some stuff on the show. And we tried to come up with a fun name because he likes character names. That was the whole thing. And he's like, well, tell me what you think about this. How about Tank? I
mean, you are a large man.
I'm a large guy, yeah. I'm a large guy. I used to be slimmer. I'm a big guy, for sure.
But I mean, how tall are you? You're like 6'4"?
I'm 6'3". 6'3". In truth, this is a fun fact that very few people know, actually. On the Jace Edwards radio program, he is the guy who named me Tank. I'm actually the third Tank. There were 2 Tanks before me.
Really?
But I'm the only one that truly lived up to the name, as it turns out. And the only one that it's stuck for. And Jace Edwards, still a dear friend. I love him terribly. He owns his own radio stations in Nevada now. It's a small market. Winnemucca, Nevada, Rock 943, and I forget the name of the other one.
But still, he owns a radio station.
Yeah, all the things that, just like I'm sure after however many years of working for corporations and companies of, man, if I owned this place, I would ... Fill in the sentence. Every radio DJ of all time is like, man, if I owned this place, you know what I would play? And he would say, we would be playing all these cuts from Iron Maiden, no one else is playing,
right.
whatever, know. But now that he has his own radio station, and there's a mix station of whatever pop hits, and he's got a rock station. And his rock station actually rocks.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Well, it has to make money, too, so you...
Well, it's not, it's a small market. Winnemucca, Nevada. I'm not trying to disparage Winnemucca, Nevada.
Where the hell is Winnemucca, Nevada?
It's funny you should ask. It's Northern Nevada. It's the station you can pick up best between Salt Lake and Reno. It's kind of in the middle. That's where I got the name Tank.
All right.
Where'd you get the name Eric? That's weird, right?
It was the Norwegian name. We're Norwegian.
It is Norwegian. There is
Well,
something else that this is. I don't know if we'll include this. I was hesitant on whether or not to ask it. John Eric Hexum.
Yeah, my first cousin.
On your mother's side, Norwegian
No,
side?
my father's side.
On your
My
father's side.
yeah.
Okay.
For those who don't know, I mean, he got to be a big star in the 80s. He did a couple of shows, a couple of broadcast shows. He was in radio for a while.
Did he do radio? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I thought he was like the college football star that wanted to become a serious actor, but was thrown into these heartthrob hunk roles or whatever.
No, I can show you a picture of John Eric before he got his tooth capped because he had a chipped tooth. But he went to Michigan State, was on the football team. His roommate was Morton Anderson.
Really?
Yeah.
That is a small world.
It is a small world.
Yeah.
And then he had come down to visit me, and because I was on television at the time, and he was in pre-med, and I thought, and then he says, you know something, Eric, I want to do what you do. I says, you're an idiot. so he gets a job at the radio station at school. And then he calls me one day, and he said, I'm moving out to Hollywood. I said, I called him Jack. I said, Jack, you're an idiot. You know, it's a 1 in a million chance. You're never going to make it. 6 months later, he calls me up, and he goes, Eric, I have a network show. And I said, you're kidding me. And he goes, yeah, I'm doing the Voyagers. It was a great show. It didn't last very long.
Precursor to the Quantum Leap, one of the greatest shows. So.
Yeah. And then he did a movie with Joan Collins, and then he got another show, which was a pretty big show with Jennifer O'Neill, I think. It was called Cover Up, and he was on the set. I'd gone out to visit him in Hollywood. He had come in.
Were you guys close? You were pretty close.
We were closer than we each had brothers, and we were closer than our brothers, and. He was on. He had just come to New Orleans to visit me because we were doing a cooking contest for Paul Prudhomme, and we actually I got a recipe from a friend, and we won first prize.
Oh,
and I still have the picture in my hall at home that we won that night, and we did a commercial because at that time I was doing the weekend news, the 10 o'clock news on WWL. And his show Cover Up came on at 9 o'clock, and my news came on at 10 o'clock. It was on CBS. And so we did some promos and stuff like that, and it ran for a couple of weeks. My producer that night called me up in my office, and he said, you need to come down here. And it came across the wire that John Eric Hexum had been shot. He was in an accidental shooting on the set. So I called his mom, and she said he was on the set, and he was bored, and sometimes you go like this, but he took a prop gun, and a prop gun has a cap in it with a blank has a wad.
Yeah, the blanks has
wad.
paper and wads that shoot out.
So he did it, and he, like an idiot, he pulled the trigger, and put a quarter-size piece of his skull in the middle of his brain. And I told his mom, my aunt, I said, if he lives through this, I'm going to kill him. But I had to go on that night and do the story that he was in the hospital. That was tough.
I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, we'll probably cut that out.
But it was funny because when he got the show Cover Up, because we had talked about doing a production company together.
Really?
Yeah. And he calls.
Here's the thing. He was young. This seemed like kind of world at your fingertips type of thing.
He was 7 or 8 years younger than me. Or, maybe less. I don't remember.
In his 20s.
He was young. He was in his 20s. I was in my 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me up when he got the show, and he goes, I got the show. He said, we're going to be rich. I said, okay. So we had big plans, but,
Yeah.
you know, it just happened. He was a good-looking guy. I told people he got the looks, I got the brains.
I mean, I wasn't trying to end this on a sad note or anything.
No. It was just we were just really close. That was good. Good-looking guy.
Needless to say, we might end up editing this part out just because.
That doesn't matter.
But seriously, Eric, thank you so much. I don't know how many ways I can say how much it means to me, and I hope you.
The
we'll
fact
do
that
this
you've
again.
stretched this into 2 hours is amazing. 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say, we could do this forever. I still have all this bourbon left. We can keep going if you really wanted to.
Well, I've got a show to do.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, you have morning news. You got to make the news tomorrow, man.
I do gotta make the news
Wake up
tomorrow.
and make the donuts. Well, go ahead and ramp it down. Thank you so much to Ace over here filling in while the great Pete Jones is still on sabbatical in New Mexico. Thank you to Tantan, the man upstairs controlling the cameras. Thank you to Nick Lodigan, who is ultimately going to have to edit all this together. Good luck. I think you got your work cut out for you on here. And thank you so much to Tipitina's for letting us use the space. Thank you to Nugs.net for letting us use the equipment. And I hope you're enjoying this on Tipitina's TV. And remember, you send me a letter to Tipitina's, care of Tipitina's. No, let's see. The All Right broadcast, care of Tipitina's.
How much have you had?
501 Napoleon. Only like a few sips. 501 Napoleon Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70115. Send me a real letter. I will send you an actual
So
letter
when you
back.
edit this down, there should be a good 20 minutes of program.
Oh, yeah. We have at least 40 minutes, I would say, of stuff we...